Hey guys, welcome back to John's Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm John, and as always, thank you guys for being here for this week. Last week, I talked to you guys about Justin Jefferson, what you should do with him, and basically I said if you have a losing record, you should look to trade Jefferson away, and I gave you guys some trade options. And if you do have Jefferson and you have a winning record and you have a good record and a lot of points for, and you think you'll still be able to make the fantasy playoffs without Jefferson, then I would keep him. I mean, I think he will return by the end of the year. I know the Vikings, some people think they won't be in playoff contention. They might not be, but I think they'll still be in contention for a wild card. They'll only have to win a couple games while he's out, but I think he'll end up missing about 5, maybe 6 weeks. But in one of my leagues, it's a 12-man league, I'll give you guys some insight as to what I did. I'm 3-3 in that league, and I just traded away Raheem Mostert for Justin Jefferson. Now, which might not be a good trade in the short term, but I think for the long term is really good because I also have Tyreek Hill in that league. So if I have Hill and Justin Jefferson going into the fantasy football playoffs, that's going to be really good for me. And this is a really weird league where there's only one running back position, 2 receiver positions, and I have Kyren Williams and Jonathan Taylor. I know Kyren just got hurt, but I like him when he comes back, and then Jonathan Taylor I could use for the next few weeks before Kyren comes back. So I'll have Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson going into the fantasy football playoffs, not to mention that I have the Hurts and Goddard stack at quarterback and tight end. So I think I'm pretty set in that league, but that's just some advice that I would give you guys, that if you are maybe have an okay record or you're confident in your team and you can be able to go get Justin Jefferson, I would see what anybody in your league is willing to give him up for, and what you can give in return. So see what you guys can do. Always feel free to reach out to me on my Patreon asking for my fantasy trade advice. But I'm going to get into the games I love and games I hate for this week. And the first game I love is the Cardinals at the Seahawks. The Seahawks really didn't have a great game last week. I thought they would have a better game, but they were coming off a bye, and I thought they were going to have a better game plan against the Bengals. It was in Cincinnati. The Bengals are playing a lot better recently, but I think the Seahawks at home, Geno Smith, he'll bounce back. I think they're going to have a great game. I think DK and Lockett, I think one of them will finally get 100 yards and a touchdown. Kenneth Walker should have a good game as well. So I like any of those Seahawks players. A lot of people have been asking me what quarterback they should stream with this week, with Fields out and Kirk Cousins playing the 49ers, and a lot of quarterbacks also on bye. Dak Prescott, one of them, Joe Burrow, another one. And I've been mentioning Geno Smith. He seems to be available in a lot of leagues because he hasn't been the same guy we've seen last year. And I like Geno Smith as a streamer this week. Even Trevor Lawrence, we don't know if he's going to play Thursday as of this recording. And I would pick up Geno Smith and stream him this week, so I like that matchup. I think the Seahawks will score a lot of points. And then on the other side, the Cardinals, I like them as well. The backfield was kind of murky. Damian Williams and Keontae Ingram seemed to lead the backfield last week. So I don't love both of them because, I think the Seahawks are going to be winning this game. I think the Cardinals will have to throw the ball. So hopefully, Marquise Brown, he's been pretty solid all year long, getting about 15 fantasy points. So I'd start him again this week. And even Dobbs you could stream because the Seahawks defense hasn't been great. The second game that I love, and this is probably my favorite game of the week, is the Chargers at the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are 16-0, or Mahomes is 16-0 in his career at home against teams that he's playing with a losing record. So that means basically the Chargers have no chance to win. So I do think the Chiefs will win this game, but it'll be a really interesting game because Eckler is back. Obviously, you're starting him. Justin Herbert didn't really look great last week. He had that broken middle finger, but it was on his non-throwing hand. You're probably starting him because there's not many other options. And then Keenan Allen, you're obviously starting him. Josh Palmer, even a potential option there. He had 10 fantasy points, 4 catches for 60 yards last week. Without Mike Williams there, we saw Quentin Johnston get 2 targets. That's it, no catches. So I'm disappointed in him. But maybe Josh Palmer you could stream, maybe Gerald Everett as tight end. But in terms of the Chiefs, obviously Kelsey, Pacheco, Mahomes, you're trying to get them into your lineups, as well as Rashee Rice. Come Sunday, he might be a weekly pick, so stay tuned to my Sunday live show to see if he is. But they also signed or traded for Mecole Hardman. I mean, you don't know really where he's going to fit in. I don't think he's going to fit in immediately. He does know this playbook because he played there for so long, but the Jets never really used him, so the Chiefs figured, why not get him back? They've got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Rashee Rice. They've got Mecole Hardman, Kadarius Toney. They have so many guys, and they could use all of them, but I think Rashee Rice is really starting to emerge as the number one wide receiver on the team, not necessarily receiver in general, because that's still Travis Kelce. But Rashee Rice, possible streamer option this week. And the last game that I love is the Dolphins at the Eagles. This is a Sunday night football game, and I'm super excited for this game. I just want to see who wins. Both teams are 5-1. The Dolphins are playing really well right now. Their defense has struggled a little bit. They gave up 14 points to the Panthers. Were down 14-0 in the first quarter, but ended up winning the game and not giving up another point. So their offense is really good. Mostert, Tyreek Hill, Waddle's getting more involved. But the Eagles also struggled last week. Hurts threw 3 interceptions against the Jets. The Jets ended up winning that game against the Eagles. So I think this is going to be a really interesting game. It's in Philly. I don't really know who's going to win the game. I'd probably guess Eagles, but both teams are playing really well right now, and I'm really excited to see what happens. But, of course, if you have Tyreek, you're starting him. Mostert, it's a bad matchup, but Breece Hall just had 20 fantasy points on the Eagles, and with how Mostert's playing, you can't really sit him. It's going to be tough to sit him with how much volume he's getting. So Mostert, maybe Tua. I mean, it's tough for you to have many other options because a lot of quarterbacks are on bye this week. So I would probably still start Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. You're getting into your lineups because we don't know if Darius Slay is going to play. He didn't play last week, which helped Garrett Wilson have a big game. So if he's out again, Waddle and Hill could have a great game on this Eagles secondary. Now, on the Eagles side of the ball, Devonta Smith has been terrible. I mean, last week he dropped a couple wide open passes. He's not been playing well lately, but I think you could put him back into your lineup this week. You probably don't have a lot of other options like we've been talking about with all the buys, but I do think that Devonta Smith is going to have a good week. Goddard, you're getting into your lineup. A.J. Brown, of course. Hurts, of course. And then obviously, DeAndre Swift, he's had a good season so far. He's been getting some volume. He did have a fumble last week and a costly one, but I think this week he'll have another good game. Chuba Hubbard made this Miami defense look pretty bad on last Sunday, so I think that Swift can even have a good game as well. So anybody in that matchup, you're probably getting into your lineup if you don't have them in already. Now, the games that I hate for this week, the first one is the Browns at the Colts. We saw what the Browns did to the 49ers last week. McCaffrey did score a touchdown for another game, 15 games in a row, I think it is. And they were able to stop the 49ers. I mean, I know Debo got hurt, McCaffrey got hurt, Trent Williams got hurt, and a lot of things went bad for the 49ers, 2 missed field goals. But the Browns' defense is statistically the best defense in the league, so they're going to be able to shut down the Colts. I know it's in Indianapolis, but I don't see Gardner Minshew, Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman having great games. So anybody in that matchup, I'm downgrading. The only players I would probably keep about the same as Amari Cooper and Jerome Ford. I think they'll do pretty well. They'll do probably about the same as they did last week, maybe a tad better. But remember that P.J. Walker is probably starting at quarterback again this week, so I think it's going to be low scoring. Not a lot of points scored, a lot of defense, a lot of running the football, so I'd downgrade anybody in that matchup. The second game I hate is the Falcons at the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, coming off a bye last week, I expected a lot more for them against the Lions. They were even at home in those creamsicle uniforms, and they just didn't show up. They only put up a couple points on the scoreboard, didn't score a touchdown. So I'm disappointed in the Buccaneers, but hopefully they could bounce back this week. Desmond Ridder is not as good away as he is at home, so I think that offense is going to struggle a little bit, and with the Bucs offense struggling, I think this is just going to make for a low-scoring game. So anybody in those matchups, I'd probably downgrade, and if you're deciding between some other players in different matchups or this one, I would go with the other matchups. And the last game that I hate is the 49ers at the Vikings. I just don't think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. We know about Kirk Cousins and what his record is and how well he plays in prime time. It's not good. Not to mention that he doesn't have Justin Jefferson still, and he's playing one of the best defenses in the league. And I don't see Alexander Mattison having a good game on the ground, or Cam Akers for that matter. And the 49ers defense is going to be able to just look at TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison. Maybe KJ Osborne gets figured in, but I don't think that the Vikings are going to get to 20 points in this game. I'd be shocked if they did. And on the other side, if Trent Williams misses the game, Debo and CMC also miss the game, Purdy is probably going to run the ball a lot with Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell. Throw it to Ayuk and Kittle a little bit. I think the 49ers will end up winning this game, but I don't think that any of those players will necessarily have great games. The best player I think would probably be Ayuk, and then maybe Kittle. I'd even stream Jordan Mason. He was my number one waiver pickup this week because of the volume that he's going to get if CMC sits. But anybody in that matchup I don't really love. I just don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, so I'd sit those players. But for you guys to get more of my opinions on which players I would start and sit, head over to my Patreon and ask me questions there. I'll always answer you guys as long as you're in Tier 2 or Tier 3. Or you can come over to my Sunday live show and on TikTok and see my weekly picks, weekly sits, and betting picks. I've hit my betting picks each of the last 2 weeks. So I was 2 for 2 2 weeks ago, and then 3 for 3 on betting picks last week. So overall 5 for 5 in the last 2 weeks. Hopefully I'll be hitting them again this week to help you guys win some money or win your fantasy football matchups. So thank you guys for coming over to the YouTube. If you're not subscribed already, definitely hit that subscribe button and go comment below and go over to our TikTok and follow us there because you don't want to miss my Sunday live show. So thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys on Sunday.